Each and every single one of us has a personal value system that is unique to us. If you think about yourself, there's no other you that exists in this world, and there's no other you that probably exists in the universe. You are that unique. You come from a particular history and a particular background that has shaped you, and you also come from a particular value system. Things that you naturally gravitate to, and things that you actually, when your value system is challenged, you want to go away from, really simply put. But your value system is fingerprint specific, meaning that if you look at your fingerprints on your hand, no one else has them, and the same goes for your value system. So why is that important? Well, it's important to know what I care about. It's important to know what I intrinsically am drawn to, and what I am actually intrinsically drawn to go away from. And it's also important to know what my partner is intrinsically drawn to and intrinsically drawn away from, even if it's the person I'm just dating them. So let's break this down a little bit. Each person, and what we're going to be doing in the workshop is I'm going to be basically taking you through what is known as a value determination process. I cannot do it here. I don't have time. But it is the cornerstone of the workshop. And the value systems, hopefully I can describe it. It's a very powerful tool. It's got 1,001 uses. And as you can see, we can use the entire value system through the lens of relationship. Okay? But the value system, we'll boil it down to, take you through a process and boil it down to things that you most value, the things that you least value, specific to yourself. The things that you most value, these 3 top values here, are you have the highest intelligence in. It's something that you've been spending probably a very long time studying, researching, talking about. But because of that, you have the highest intelligence in. You can communicate it to the highest degree. You have the highest focus. When that pops into your world, you'll focus on it and have the highest ability to have the highest learning, attention, and retention, and ability to teach it. You will have the highest goal setting and goal accomplishing within your 3 values. You will have the highest, like I said, the highest drive to want to accomplish it and put it into your world. Now let me give you a different way of looking at values, okay? So we take you through the value determination to determine this, but we can also determine it a different way. Voids drive value. So what does that mean? It means my challenges in my life, my greatest challenges, i.e. that which I perceived most missing in my world, if I perceive it missing, I want it in my world. So if I had this horrible relationship with my mom, I might develop into a counselor that actually develops the ability to relate and to be a professional relationship counselor. If I have a void of money and money is painful, and let me give you an example of that. Warren Buffett perceived poverty to be really painful. He did not like it. Actually, there are stories of him that we would talk about. He had abhorred poverty, and he dressed the best he possibly could with the money that they had. But by the age of 11, he had such a void on money and being impoverished that by the age of 11, he learned every financial book in the Omaha, Nebraska library. That's how much pain he had around being impoverished. So now he's a billionaire. So you'd say that he had a huge void that drove this huge value, so the degree of the void drives the degree of the value. And we can actually determine your values, and we can go backwards. I can actually show you how your top values are related to your greatest pain. So why is that important? Well, it's important to show you that your pain and your struggles have your greatest learning. And they are attached to things that have your highest intelligence, your highest focus, your most discipline, your highest goal setting, your highest drive, because you want to import them into your world. Am I making sense about all this? Great. So that's my value system. Well, my partner or future partner has a value system as well. And I'm going to want to know what they value. Why? It's because when I don't want to go off too much on this. Let me see if I'm right. When I know my partner's value system, I have much more awareness about how to speak into it. When I know my value system, I know I have a much better ability to not leave myself behind, but actually weave what I care about into what he cares about. Do you think that would lead to a pretty meaningful conversation, pretty meaningful connection? So it's really, that's why I use the lens of value system to teach relationship. It's because this is where we spend most of our time, is in our top 3 values. So this is where we're most focused and most driven. So I wrote these 2 circles. Liken these circles to a value system. This is a value system and that is a value system. And I go on a date. And I'm having a great time on that date, right? And we're overlapping in our value systems here. Where we overlap, where we communicate, is where we see each other, where we hear each other, where our communication is the greatest, where we feel fulfilled in that communication or in that relationship. Hey, how's it going? Welcome. Where we get each other. Can you see that? If I'm talking about something that I care about and you care about, we're like... It's the conversations that you have that you just don't want to stop. Will and I had a conversation about travel, and he told me about his trip to India. I said, well, it's okay to share that, and it was an amazing conversation. We couldn't stop talking about it because I love travel as well. So he and I overlapped in a value system and had a great conversation, and we were inspired. And he taught me a lot about India I did not know, and I was focused, and I was there, and I was with him. So we want to see where our value systems overlap. So what happens, do you think, where they don't overlap? We don't see each other. We don't really hear each other. It's the highest degree to have an ability to have conflict and a fight. It's the highest ability for me or you to project my value system on you and say, you should do this. You should listen to me. You're just being an asshole right now. Whereas that person is just not getting what you're saying because they don't value it. And I'll go into that in much more detail. So, and by all this in the workshop, we're going to dive into it. So we're going to give you basic exercises, but in the workshop you're going to get really in depth in this, and because I want you to learn this and understand it, because it's had so much profound impact in my life. And all of a sudden it made things make sense. It's like, oh, no wonder I pissed him off. I was telling him what he should do, and of course he shut down. He wasn't feeling seen or heard. I was telling him what I valued. I wasn't taking into account what he valued. So why would he listen to me? And why would I want to listen to you if you were telling me everything I should do, but it's not matching, it's not gelling, if that makes any sense. So what else I want to say in this? So we're going to go to the exercise, and the exercise is labeled, what do I keep attracting in my past relationships? And it's very simple. Again, we're not going to do this exercise here, but I'm just going to give you the instructions. Again, if you have any questions on these, just mark them off, and then we can ask the questions at the end. But you're going to list your last 5 relationships on a page. And if you do this exercise, you're going to want to give yourself space, whether it's either in a written exercise, either on a computer or on a piece of paper. I do all my stuff on computer. It's just easier. It's easier to edit, to add, and all that stuff. But if you want to do it on a piece of paper, awesome. List your 5 last relationships on a page. And under each name, I want you to list all the traits that you were attracted to in this person. Do you want to come in? Can he come in? Sure. Yeah, come on in. I don't want you sitting out there. You feel like you're like out in that, and I don't like that. I want everyone included. Sorry, I'm being a pain in the ass, but I just want you in here. So, under each name, I want you to pay attention to what you were attracted to. So, was it his handsomeness? Was it his voice? Was it his ability to make money? Was it his intelligence? Was it his... And again, you'll see here on listed underneath, you'll have these 7 areas of life. It's a way of breaking down life. Everyone is social. Everyone has a level of spiritual or religious background. Everyone has usually comes from a family, has a financial relationship, has a relationship to mental, vocational, physical, and leadership. Your leadership is highest in your highest values. It's the ability to where you can actually lead and have a communication and teach, and so your leader is actually in your highest values. It's another thing I forgot to tell you. But you can also, when you're done listing everything you can think of, all the traits in each person, then go through and ask, What did I like about him socially? What was attractive about him socially? What was attractive about him from a spiritual standpoint? He might have been very spiritual, or he might have been very sort of religious, and you liked that. Did you like his family? Did you like his friends? Financially, was he wealthy? Were you attracted to that? Were you attracted to his business? Were you attracted to his intelligence? So go through each one of those, and what did I find about him spiritually, familially? It'll broaden your ability to put more traits down. And you're going to do this for the last 5 relationships. I would do it for every single one of them if you get into this. Because what this is going to do is it's going to show you what you keep attracting. So when you're done listing all those traits, I want you to go with a highlighter, and I want to see the same traits that keep showing up. Because that's going to point you to your value system. It's going to point you to what you keep attracting, what your life keeps demonstrating on what you're gravitating into your life. Because this is what your value system is, what your life is demonstrating. It's what you're thinking about most. It's what you're talking about most. It's what you're setting goals towards most. It's what you're most disciplined in. It's where your most highest focus is. It's these 3 top ones. And so if you start to see a trait show up all the time, it's like, wow, that's important to me. That's going to give me an indication on my relationship value system. Let me give you my void. When I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And back in the 70s, you were broken when you were diagnosed with that. I was a pain in the ass in school. I was constantly getting in people's physical spaces. I had no impulse control. So what am I today? I'm a psychotherapist that teaches boundaries. That's interesting. I studied, learning became very important with me because I perceived a void. I perceived myself to be broken at learning because they said with ADHD, they're not encoding well. They're not getting it because they're all over the place. That's actually couldn't be farthest from the truth from a person who has an ADHD mind. An ADHD mind is actually a very fast-moving mind. It's a very rapid mind. And if you can get a person to have movement attached with their learning, all of a sudden you can encode better. Get me on a ball bouncing, get me doing something while I'm learning something, and I can encode really well. Get me learning something in my highest values, and I have attention surplus or like crazy. So I had this void of learning, and I now have studied with some of the greatest teachers, and I have an ability to effectively help others, truly. I have a science to help people. I watch people transform every single day in my practice. I watch them come from a very patterned story of pain or shame or guilt and come out with, oh my God, I had no idea that taught me that. I had no idea the insights that came out of that. So I came from a real void of feeling dumb and stupid and less than, and I cannot take up space in this planet. Has anyone ever felt like that? Yep. That void will drive intelligence. It will drive, if you look at your life, it's driven you to learn and study and understand particular things as it relates to your specific void.